There she is. Hi, Sahana. You're muted, or video or audio is off.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
There we go.
Hello, everyone. Sahana here. So let me go ahead and share my screen and I'll get started. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Sahana P, and I am a senior manager at Automation Anywhere. I manage the digital support strategy as well as the KCS process for the organization. And today I'm going to present about how we have injected Gen AI into the KCS solve loop. And here we go. So the agenda today would be to go through the KCS solve loop and the power process in brief as to how KCS in theory talks about solve loop practices and the outcomes of solve loop. And I'll talk about how we have added Gen AI to our search and also used it to create knowledge base articles. Then we have also implemented Gen AI to perform PAR audits on all our cases. And I will then talk about how these automated PAR audits have helped the coaches and the engineers. And in the end, I'll talk about how we are reporting the outcome of the solve loop as well as how we have made an impact with the Gen AI implementation. So as we know, the solve loop consists of 4 practices of capturing or reusing or improving content as well as structuring it. And when the engineers are solving the cases, they're expected to write a KB as and when they come across a new issue, reuse existing knowledge. And when they are reusing an article, if they find any information missing, they need to update it. And as easily as it can be done, it's just not possible for all the engineers to manage these activities at the pace at which they have cases going on, the other responsibilities that they have. And so to check that, we have our KCS coaches who do PAR audits to monitor how the engineers are actually following the solve loop practices, and we measure the outcome. And the outcome is whether the KB articles that were linked are correct or not, whether the capture opportunities were completed or not, and whether the improvements were done or not. So in theory, this is ideally how it should work. But when it comes to practicality, it is impossible for us to audit every case and talk to every engineer about every case and find out whether there was a potential to update or create a KB. So we are trying to bridge that gap using Gen AI. So the objective of implementing Gen AI in our cases framework was to improve the operational efficiency. And one of the major challenges we had is our engineers often had no visibility of how they are contributing to the knowledge. How is their work impacting self-service? They had no visibility into the number of articles they have created and how those articles are being consumed by the customers or by the other engineers. Similarly, the engineers were given out the PAR audit result, but they had no way of providing a feedback saying, I do not agree with this audit, or I have a different outlook on what has been added as capture loss or improve loss. Similarly, there were a lot of opportunities that went missing because we were not able to audit all the cases, and there were many content gaps that were still there, and we were trying to address those using the Gen AI. And while doing all this, we did not want to increase the workload on the coaches or the engineers. So another objective of adding Gen AI was to reduce the manual effort. And of course, the standardizing of writing style. Quite often, engineers, each person has their own way of expressing the information, and there is no certain way of standardizing it manually. So the best way to do it is using GenAI because with time, the GenAI system actually learns and gets familiar with our content and the acronyms and the synonyms that we have. So it's quite easy to standardize the writing style because the articles written by GenAI have a certain way of expressing and formatting, and it then is consistent across multiple KBs. So starting with the Nobler and Search Unify integration. So what we did was, as I mentioned earlier, the solve loop consists of searching for the existing article, linking the existing article, and creating or updating an article as and when they found something. So to do that, the engineers had to manually go through multiple databases and then search for the information and attach it to the case. And they also had to review the KB manually and then get it published from the coaches. So to help with this, we have done GenAI integration where we have something called Nobler as part of the case form. So Nobler allows you to search through all the knowledge base articles, and you can also switch to federated search where it also has knowledge base articles as well as documentation. So the engineers can actually search from both the databases or just from the knowledge articles and then go ahead and attach. So let's assume I search for something and then I find that this article is relevant to my case. I attach it to the case. And then once it is attached, we are capturing the timestamp of when the article is attached and who attached the article, along with the title and the status of the article. So in scenarios where the engineer is expected to create a KB, so this is the search bit. Additionally, if the engineer is expected to create an article, the case notes are in unstructured format in Chatter. So the Gen AI goes through all the information from the case notes and then it creates the article from the case notes. So I'll just demonstrate that now using Nobler. So here the engineer has to create article based on the template. So we have 3 templates. In this case, I'll select case issue. And you see that the article generation is completed. So it generates a title. You have the resolution. And let's assume that you need to regenerate the article because you have added some additional information to the case. You can click on regenerate. You can regenerate just the title or regenerate the entire content. So the second regenerate will generate the entire content again, and it will take into consideration the new case notes that have been added. We also have integrated content health along with the article generation. So when I click on review content health, it will tell me the uniqueness of the article, the accuracy of the title. Complete and content clear, currently we do not have much logic developed here because there is a lot of technicality to the articles, hence it's still a manual effort. However, the article uniqueness gives you a good view of whether the article is actually relevant and unique in terms of the content itself. And we encourage users to go by this. And if the article uniqueness is greater than 50%, then it's generally seen that it is a good capture. So the engineer can go ahead and publish or publish and attach the article. So once the article is created, it takes a minute to realize that it has been created. Soon it will show up as in a different color and it will also say created in a minute or so. Similarly, for search, what we have done is we have integrated it with Chat GPT. And then when we search for a search query on the external website, the customers see the response of the chat GPT in this particular box. It should come up in a minute. Let me just check here. Yeah, as you can see, the background color is green for any created articles, and it also has the created tag. So we know that this KB was created from this particular case. And for our customers, we have integrated ChatGPT where the customers can directly view the steps for the solution within this box, and they can also go through the search results below. So as I said, this integration from a Nobler and Search Unify has helped us improve the um, publish time for the KBs, because right now the KB creation is much faster with GenAI compared to the manual effort. And we also have logic in place where the PII data will be filtered before populating the KB. So customer information, account name, IP addresses, things like that are automatically filtered out. And the coach also has the option to go through the content health metrics within the tool. So it helps them to understand whether the article is unique or not, and if the title needs work. We have also seen the create rate double and also the reuse rate double after we went live, because the creation of KB became much simpler. The users were more prone to create KBs, and even if they missed, it took them only a couple of minutes to create the KB and review it. So we are seeing great results from this particular integration. Now, any questions so far? Okay. Now, moving on.
Not that I've
Yeah.
seen.
Okay. Yeah. Moving on to the power automation. So earlier we had the coaches audit a small sample of cases. So we couldn't really find out whether there were any opportunities that were missed out by the engineers. So we had an RPA bot where the bot runs daily to analyze closed cases from the past week, and it will go through the content databases and check the articles that are linked to the case and find the PAR result. So it will categorize the case in the standard 8 categories. And since it's AI and there is a tendency for AI to hallucinate, we had added additional logic. So if there is a conflicting information, then the case gets marked as undetermined. So let me show you how the PAR audit works. So this is again a in-house tool that was developed by the GenAI team within our company. So you have something called GCS Power Audit. And right now I'm triggering it manually, but the bot actually goes ahead and fills in the bot audit. So let's assume that the bot says that this is a capture loss, and then the bot saves the audit. So any audit where the bot has marked as capture loss, we go ahead and give it to the coach. So only the negative results are re-audited, not all the cases. So the coach can go ahead and then change the PAR category or agree or disagree. So let's assume that it is capture loss again. Then the coach can go ahead and mark it as capture loss and then click on save. We have set up the logic such that anytime the result is negative, the TSC feedback needed gets automatically checked. And then the notification is sent to the TSC saying this particular case has been marked as capture loss. And when that happens, the TSC is expected to come here and select the action. So let's assume it's a capture loss. The TSC is supposed to create the KB or update the KB if it's an improved loss. If it's reuse loss or inaccurate reuse, they need to attach the right KB. And if the content creation has already been done from another case, they can select this option. And if they say no action taken, they are expected to add their comments and then save it. So what this does is it gives a complete feedback loop for the engineers, for the coaches, and we also get information whether the bot is able to get the audit right or not. So I'll just save it for now. And we also have this in a form of a report. So with the report, it's easy for us to find out whether how many cases have been audited, how many KBs were created, and so on. So this is about the PAR audit. And yeah. So previously we were auditing about 10 to 15% of the cases, but now we are able to audit the entire case list. And all the missed opportunities that we lost out on are now being documented by the bot, and we are able to go back to the engineer and ask them to update the KB and create the KB whenever necessary. And the reuse rate was not accurate because we could not find out whether the reuse was done correctly or not when the audit was manual. But now what happens is the bot also links the appropriate link along with the audit. So that way we can compare both the links and see where what is known and what is new. So this is the bar audit comparison initially when we did a comparison between the cases that were already audited and when the bot audited the similar set of cases, and we saw that there were a lot of capture losses that bot could pick up on, and also there was a small piece of undetermined. So we refined the logic to remove the undetermined, and to now the undetermined percentage is about 2-3% at this point of time. And the capture loss, there were quite a few false negatives, but we refined the logic furthermore, and now the capture loss is pretty much accurate. So we are seeing about 90% accuracy on the bot audit, and we are able to capture those content gaps because we are notifying users as and when they go ahead and get a capture loss, reuse loss. So this way what happens is the cases coaches can only focus on the results where there is a content gap instead of randomly picking up cases. And they're also able to follow up and track the completion easily because you have the report available to you, and the TSC feedback is documented in the report, so the engineers don't have to manually send an email or chat with the coach saying I have completed this. As soon as they complete it, it reflects in the report and it goes as the entire action or the loop is completed. So previously the coaches had very limited time to actually audit cases, audit KBs. So now they're improved because they have much lesser cases to audit. Also, the content health metrics through GenAI is helping them to find out if there is any additional similar content available in the system so that they can compare and see if there is a candidate for consolidation. And the TSC feedback is also well documented, and the TSC also has an option to revert with their feedback. So that way, we know whether a coach and the TSC feedback is happening or not, those one-on-ones are happening or not. So it has helped us streamline the communication between the coaches and the engineers.
So we have a
And for
couple
the,
of, we did
yeah,
get a
go
couple
ahead.
of questions, if you want to hear them.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the first question, is the case scanning feature pure Gen AI, or is there a customized model at all that gets retrained?
It's a customized model, so we filter out a lot of information. We are also planning to feed the logs and the screenshots in the future so that the Gen AI can also give snippets of the logs to determine how the issue can be identified.
Okay, and here's another one. Thank you. Following the rollout of this tool, what has been the impact on the case creation metrics? Have you seen a decrease on case creation?
We have just gone live in November, so we haven't seen less case creation. This is only internal. So right now the case flow is the same. But what we are seeing is the increase in the capture and the reuse rate. So we are seeing a better database, a better knowledge base where the information, more information is available. And we have seen the improvement in our deflection because of the chat GPT. But the case inflow is more or less the same.
Okay, thank you. That's it for now.
Okay. And for the TSEs, it's easy for them to create the KBs because earlier they used to do it manually. And now the search has been, sorry about that, there's a power loss. So the search has been simplified with federated search. And now when they have any pending activity, they can go back and complete it. And they can send that information back to the coach without having to send emails or ping on Teams. So the TSC workflow has been optimized to a large extent. Their time consumption to create or update KBs is reduced. And it has also improved the case resolution time because we are going back and completing those content gaps. And they find it very useful to go ahead and provide their feedback when the PAR is negative because sometimes the coach has misunderstood something or has not checked something. So it's always good to get their perspective into the system as well. And as a part of the ROI, there are many ROIs that we are seeing. We are seeing a great improvement in the capture rate, modify rate, and the reuse rate. The KB publish time, as I mentioned earlier, has reduced to half. The resolution time has also improved because the time required to create the KB from the scratch is more. And the content health is much more standardized. Earlier, uh, most of them were giving 100%, but now when we see the AI metrics, it's ranging between 80 to 90%. So there are some fine tuning aspects that AI provides that the coach doesn't have, and that has helped with the content health scores. And we also get the complete information on the PAR results. So we are able to give engineers a view of how their work is being measured, how their contributions are being measured. One of the important things and major complaints in support is how do I show the work that I have done? How do I showcase and get visibility for all the efforts that has gone into solving cases? So we have this something called knowledge champion dashboard that we have created. This is on the dummy data. This will go live in January, but sorry, I think it's, let me open this. Yeah. So we are measuring on the metrics, we are measuring three things: knowledge linking index, knowledge contribution index, and knowledge effectiveness index. What it does, it gives a linking score to each engineer based on the number of opportunities they had to link versus how many that they actually used. So I'll come to that. Yeah, here it is. So you have the linking score. You, as a agent, when they log in, they have their own profile where they can see their own score. It will tell what is their rank in the linking index, contribution index, and effectiveness index. Linking tells you the number of linking opportunities versus the number of opportunities that were actually utilized. Then the reputation score is the average score of the KBs as a whole, whether the KB was useful in multiple cases or not. Then you have the contribution index where it will talk about the number of opportunities you had to create the KB and the number of KBs that actually got created. And this is this is the monthly score, and this is the cumulative score. So this is running for 12 months. So let's assume that you start off with a 0 and then you peak up to a certain level in November or December. Then again in Jan, it will pick up the previous 11 months and the next month. So you need to be consistently performing to maintain your badge. Otherwise, if you stop uh, creating KBs or linking KBs, the score will drop and your badge will be degraded to a lower one. And similarly, we have the effectiveness score. So effectiveness is about the KBs that have been created by me. So the number of KBs that I create will have certain number of views, will have the certain cases attached to it. So based on the number of cases and the views and the self-service that my KB gains, I get points month on month. And then the cumulative points gives you the reputation score. So we have the self-help volume if it is linked by other agents, as well as the number of views and the knowledge base ratings that those KBs have. Similarly, what we have done is we have added a prompt as and when the engineer closes the case. Let's assume there is an opportunity to create a KB. So the GenAI automatically checks if there is an existing KB. If not, it will prompt the user to create a new KB, and it will give you options to either go ahead and create it or give your feedback saying whether the knowledge exists or it's not a creation opportunity, so that it can be a feedback for the Gen AI for the next time when a similar situation appears. It may or may not prompt the user to go ahead and add the KB. And for an individual, they will be able to see their profile saying that this is your score on the linking and the contribution, and they have different badges based on the number of points that they cover. So each user will be able to go back and see how they are making an impact, how many cases they have closed, and how many opportunities they have utilized in terms of linking and creating. Effectiveness is still under development. It should be ready in a month or so. So yeah, this is another screenshot of how the statistics will look in the backend. Even the managers will have the view of the whole team, so they can see who is doing well in the team or who needs help or who needs coaching in the backend. Yeah, so that is all I had from my end on the Gen AI and KCS Solve Loop.
Oh, okay, let's see if we can get some questions. So thank you for sharing, Sahana. I don't
No
think
problem.
I've seen that level of detail on a lot of those things. It's all looks well integrated. Everything's tied to, you've tied a lot of things together that need to be tied together.
Right, yeah.
No,
Earlier, our power audits were done on Excel and SharePoint, and it was kind of difficult for the coaches or the engineers to shift from one tool to the other to get information in pieces. And now with this power automation, all the information is available within the tool. You audit within the tool, and you also provide the feedback within the tool. So end of the day, it becomes easier for engineers to just look at their profile and see. We are planning to add that to their profile as well, so that it becomes simpler for them to. How long did it take? Okay, so Nobler, the KB creation part, think we worked on it for about 6 months to get to a level where it could give us satisfactory results. Initially, we saw that the KBs that got created were very short, very succinct, and did not have the level of detail that we were looking for. So we had to build the prompt, increase the output size, and give more inputs in a more detailed manner. Uh, so we have implemented cases for about, I think it was there an year before I joined. So I have been here for 2.5 years. So I think about 3 to 4 years it was already there, but everything was manual. There was no Gen AI, of course. And after I joined, we started streamlining the KCS process and also the power audit. And one of the major complaints was how do I show what do I get from creating the KB or updating the KB? What's in it for me, right? So we told the engineers that if you do this, because quite often it gets ignored because you have no way of, you're not going to sit and check every KB of yours and see what rating it's getting, what feedback it is getting. So this kind of helps them um, get an understanding of how they are doing and where is their improvement area, and also show that they are contributing and positively contributing. And the ranking, and of course creates a motivating factor for engineers to work better.
I would imagine that job satisfaction is going up.
Yes, it has. It has
Yeah,
improved. Yes.
because I mean, the truth is we have a lot of issues in support with burnouts. Yeah,
True.
people burning, just getting fried from the job, and it's been hard, I think, for most support organizations to really improve job satisfaction because the pace can be relentless, and there's never an end to problems and questions.
True.
So
Yes.
this is a way to give them some immediate feedback and really show them more of the results of how they're contributing. I like that aspect of it very much.
Yes. Thank you. I
So
think
you only implemented some of this in November, right?
the power audit automation is in November, but Nobler and the search and everything that has been there from March.
Hmm.
So we have been working on it since last year. So the actual work started somewhere around September, October in 2023. And it took us 6 months to get the tool to a maturity level where we wanted to get as much input given in a much more detailed format. We also had to train engineers to document the cases better. Because end of the day, no matter how much Gen AI you have, you need that human input where you have to feed the right context to the Gen AI. Otherwise, I mean, if the case notes are empty, it's obviously not going to be able to create any KB. So yeah, so the capture rate was about, I think, 2%. Now it has gone up to 4% in terms of capture because we already had certain level of KBs in the system, and our reuse rate was somewhere around 20%, 15, 20%, and that jumped to about 40%. So yes, we have almost doubled, and the number of KBs getting created and the quality of it is also good. And there is a certain standard to those content because it's written by Gen AI. So the sentences are pretty similar. The structuring is pretty similar across multiple KBs, which is good.
Wow. Well, this is great information to share. I thank you for being so generous to share this because
No problem.
we're all on the really in the early years of particularly the new generational AI use support. So we all need to learn from each other. And it is the earlier discussion pointed out, there's going to be major changes. People have to change how they even think about it. So we need all the help we can get to get there.
Right.
So we have another question just came up.
Not with the case notes. Case notes is something that the engineer need to document, but there is something called support buddy where you can feed in the information from the symptom or the issue, and then it tries to give you the steps or the logs that you need to collect in the back end, and then it tells you to try different steps. So there is a bot called support buddy in the back end which kind of helps, but it helps in troubleshooting, not with writing the case notes. Case notes is still a manual effort.
Okay. Well, we have time for more questions, so keep them coming. So Sahana, you gonna go to bed after this? It's the middle of the
No,
night there,
I'd
right?
want to see a couple more presentations.
Ah, okay. There's another question.
Uh, Yeah, we did have a demo from Salesforce, but it did not have everything that we were looking for in a way. So we kind of decided to go our own way because Power Audit Automation was something that Salesforce didn't have. So we were trying to get that as well. Uh, but yeah, we did have a demo on it. And yes, they also had some good features, but it did not fit our framework that we were. Biggest challenge. Yeah, I think the biggest challenge was adoption of the tool. Because earlier, when we said that the Gen AI will create the article for you, the engineers were skeptical about it. They were not very comfortable with it. They thought that, I would just write it. This is not great. And, this is not the way it should be, and things like that. So we yeah, they were like, oh, this sentence doesn't make any sense to me, and this and that. And so we had to kind of curb that instinct and tell them that, okay, you can still edit it, right? And you can
Yep.
still change it and make it better. So we took those inputs, we saw what they were looking for and tried to add more and more detail into the KB creation.
I think it's kind of an occupational hazard. When everything you see is broken, you tend to become a bit cynical.
Right. Yeah, and even the other challenge was the KBs when they I mean, when the users saw how easy it was to create the KB, they started just creating just for fun. Then we had to tell them, don't do that because you're because
Oh,
they were
I
trying
hadn't
to see
even
how
thought of
good it
that.
is and what is it all about. And so we had to curb that and said, you need not do that. Just do it whenever there's they didn't have a capture opportunity, but they wanted to try it out. So
Well,
yeah,
there's been so much hype about ChatGPT, but people want to play with it, right?
right, yeah. So I gave them the dummy sandbox, and I said, "You want to play with it? Play it here." And then we said, you go ahead, create as many articles in the dummy sandbox. It's fine. Let's not do it in production. So we. Uh, Nitin has a question. Do we have a review workflow? Yes. So as I said, there are engineers who are already publishers who are in the system for a while, and they're familiar with the cases writing practices and the content standard. So for them, they can directly publish. But if somebody is new, then they need to submit it for approval, just like the standard Salesforce article, and then the coach will review it and then publish it. Are you still training the model? Yes, we are. So as and when we find a difficult scenario where something doesn't get captured, right? So I'll tell you something. The PII information, it was so used to removing the numbers. There was one point at which we wanted to add the path of a certain file, C, Windows, something, and it kept filtering it out because it thought it was a PII information. And then we said, no, no, we need to give an exception to the PII saying we need to include anything which has C, Windows, something, something, because that's the folder where we need to go and change something or the registry entries sometimes. So yeah, we all constantly ask engineers to send us notes anytime they feel that some important piece of information was missing from the KB. And then we change the Gen AI prompt in the backend to accommodate that request to see that, it doesn't happen again.
I, I have to admit I think it's just wonderful to hear the human side of using it. Everything from the
Right.
cynical support engineers to the people from the users that want to play with the toys. But
Right.
this is good advice for those that haven't done this yet. They need to anticipate the human aspects of it.
Right.
And managing change, it goes for both your own people as well as customers. And managing change is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. So this is very good, helpful information for those moving in this direction. Okay, we have time for a few more questions. Maybe we've exhausted them. There we go. Can you see it?
Uh, I think, yeah, there's one more question.
Another from
The
Nitin.
passwords. Okay, so anytime there is a word mentioned password, it doesn't go to the Gen AI. Anything where it says username or password or PSWD, we have filtered it out. So it doesn't get processed, it gets filtered out from the case itself along with the rest of the customer information.
Okay. Still have a little bit more question time left. We'll give it a minute, Sahana.
Sure, I think they're probably typing or
Yep.
thinking.
One from Yuya.
KPI part of the, yes, it is. It is part of the engineer performance, but until now we couldn't give a clear number as to who is doing well and who isn't, because as I said, we were auditing small number of cases and we were not looking at every KB that was created or captured or not captured. So now since this, what more is in the, oh, I'm sorry, I think, yeah, I forgot. I'm so sorry. I think there was one more slide that I missed. Let me share my screen. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Looking ahead, so the plan is to also add Gen AI to the evolve loop activities. User dashboard and gamification, I just showed the PDF. So that's one aspect that we want to use it. The second is feedback management. Right now, feedback management is kind of manual because we get the feedback into the system, then we extract it to the Excel, manually assign it, get it closed. But we want to use Nobler itself to manage the feedbacks within the tool so that we also know how many feedbacks have come in, who has worked on how many feedbacks, and add that also to their profile as a metric. We want to use the Gen AI for duplication detection. So if there are multiple KBs on a single topic, we would want to group them together. So identifying broken links. As I said, we have an alert for KB creation already. Similarly, we want to add an alert for KB update as well. So if there is an existing article and if the Gen AI finds a missing piece of information, whether it's the version number or any of the steps in the case that is not available in the KB, we want it to prompt for the KB update, just like it prompts for the KB creation. And we also want to use Gen AI to rewrite existing content. There is a lot of legacy content which was created before Gen AI came into place. And we want to rewrite that content because some of them are quite lengthy and there are a lot of paragraphs and we want to break it up into consumable chunks. So we are working on getting the existing KBs being rewritten by the Gen AI. So these are the things that would, be part of the future portfolio of this tool.
Yeah, I think you answered the feedback question pretty well. So
Yes,
still,
the customer feedback on the KBs. So sometimes the KBs get rated thumbs down and it does not resolve the issue. So the customers leave a feedback. So right now it comes into the system, but there is no way for me to assign it within the system or close it within Salesforce. So we need to manually assign it after exporting the file into Excel and then doing it outside of Salesforce. So we want to add that within the tool so that we don't have to switch back and forth. And we can also measure the engineer's work or effort required to address those feedbacks. So we want to add that as a part of their profile, just like the contribution index and linking index.
still have time for questions. Well,
I think we don't have any.
okay. Well, then, Sahana, thank you very much. You can get on to your next task. And we really appreciate it. I mean, this kind of sharing is so important for all of us to move ahead. And I think this is going to benefit a lot of people, including those that are already using AI. That they may not be using it in the way that you're using it. And
Right. Yeah.
I don't recall seeing anything that was as well integrated as this. So thank you very much. And you can go
Thank
ahead
you.
and turn off your device.